Welcome, everybody. Hello. It is the Adobe Fonts Show
Hello.
once again. We are live.
We are live and it's our last show for
Last show of the
2021.
year.
Yeah.
Exciting. It's been an exciting year, I think. Um, yeah. So hopefully we got a good show for you today. I see we already have some people in the chat. Mike, Rick, Cody, Andreas, thank you for joining us bright and early this time. So glad to have you all at 30 minutes earlier than our usual time slot.
Yeah, and thanks for joining throughout this year.
Yeah.
We started these streams earlier this year, I think
In March,
March.
yeah, March 10th.
That was the first time we ever did an Adobe Fonts live stream, and a lot of you have been watching almost every one of them. So thank you so much for supporting us and asking us questions and chatting in the chat.
Yeah.
It really helps.
No, and those early days, it really helped to just get some encouragement and see that what we were doing was useful. And so we really appreciate it. It's been a fun year.
Yeah. Should we jump in?
Let's jump in. We got a little quick poll for everybody. Since the topic of today is animation, just wanted to see where everyone's at in terms of animation stuff. So, in terms of creating animations, are you leaving animations to others for now? Are you not yet but soon kind of excited about animation? Or are you animating stuff all day? So let us know in the chat with a number. And you can do decimals as well, 1.5, 2.5 if you want. Mix and match as needed to, whatever your heart tells you. But I would say I'm probably somewhere between 2 and 3. I'm probably a 2.5. I've done a few things and gotten my feet wet a little bit, but a lot of it's still new to me, and hopefully that will be helpful for some of you if you've not yet delved in. I see we have some 3s, so some of the stuff today may be things you already know, but hopefully you find something interesting or useful in this stream. But yeah,
Yeah. I'm a 1, so
awesome. I see Rick
I'm
said
excited to learn.
3B, it takes all day to animate stuff. And I after this week, Rick, I will totally agree. What I animated
That's funny.
isn't even that complicated, but yes. Yep. It is a time consuming thing, but hopefully today you'll see that it's not as difficult to get started as you might think. But it is a lot of tweaking. I think finesse is the word that comes up for me in animation. It really is about finesse. It's like tweaking. You're constantly tweaking timing to make it look fluid, or to make it look natural.
Yeah.
So
Nathan says 1.8. I like the very specific
yes,
decimal
me
point.
too. Well, then hopefully
And
we'll have something that pushes you over to that a little bit closer to 2 today.
yes, Mike says use the text animation presets to get it done faster. That's a great tip. And I also have a tip for simple animations done a little bit faster too that I'm going to show.
Indeed.
But we have a few people that just joined. Bliss, Barbara, Christelle. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, it's good to have y'all. Shall we dive in? Ari, you're going to show us a little something before we dive into the main event?
Yeah, just a little something. I think a lot of you have seen this before. Our website, fonts.adobe.com. And as we always remind you, there are 20,000 plus fonts in our library, and they're all included in your Creative Cloud plan.
How many?
Even if it's a free plan, you have almost 2,000 fonts included there. So there's a lot to play with.
How many fonts in the last year have we added?
We've added about 2,800 in the last year.
So lots for everyone to look through and
yeah, there's always new ones.
Yeah.
So if you want to see the new ones, you can always filter by newest, and you can always go to, for example, recommendations, and click on newest here. and it'll show you just some cool. We added these just now from this foundry called Jammer Patel, and they're actually all African scripts,
Super
which
cool.
is really cool. So have language supports for a lot of languages that don't usually get support. And if you go to this newest tab under recommendations, you'll see the images of the families just to give you some inspiration. This just caught my eye. So this is the kind of thing that you might not have discovered this font, but you get to see an image that catches your eye and inspires you and gives you an idea of how to use the font. Smoosh by Type Supply.
Great name
in
for
this
a font.
case. Yes, this is pretty amazing. So yeah, I encourage you to go to see the newest fonts. And as always, we have our tags. And I wanted to just show you that because of the season right now, we do have a holidays tag. And if you click on that, you'll see fonts that were curated to work well with cards or, flyers for holiday events, that kind of thing. And some ornaments that could go well with them. So check that out. And just as a last thing, I think you may have seen that Creative Cloud Express launched this week, which is kind of a new version of Adobe Spark, but with a ton more features. So it's a really great way to create graphics that are needed for like social media or create digital flyers or edit videos. So you can do a lot of quick actions that you can see here, like removing background from a photo. I've tried it. It takes like 1/100th of the time that it would take you otherwise. And I actually created, you can see your recent projects down here. I actually created a little animated graphic for the Secret Santa event that our team is going to be having on Friday. And you can see that it animates just a very simple animation. And that was really easy to do. I just used the animation tab. Sorry, Ben, I keep wanting to click on things behind us. So you can go to text animation and choose the way that you want your text to animate. And although you're limited to those ways, so you don't have as much flexibility as what Ben's going to show you, it is a great option to just add some movement to your design. And in this case, I think it made it look really good. I used some fonts from the holiday tag, and it made everyone want to come to the Secret Santa. So
I mean, I think everyone wants to go to the
are you
Secret Santa.
coming, Ben?
I will. I might be out of town, but that's because
Ben,
if
it's
you look
virtual. You have no excuse.
if you look at the hair and the
it's
beard,
not in a physical place.
I might be delivering presents. That's the thing. So.
Yes, I get it.
You see, you see what I mean?
Yes.
Not so.
So that is Creative Cloud Express, and please stay tuned here on Behance because there's going to be a lot of live streams that feature this new product, and you can see all the ways to use it. We'll be talking about it more too
in the future, yeah.
But all of your Adobe fonts library is included in Creative Cloud Express, just like other Creative Cloud apps. So make sure to try it out, and it's a quick way to do some animation too.
Awesome. All right, we're going to dive right in, everybody. We are going to go over some basics in animation. I know some of you are already familiar, but we're happy to have you here, and you can offer me tips because I'm pretty new, and that'll be great. And hopefully some of you learned something today in terms of how animation works in After Effects. I'm going to keep things pretty simple, but I think a lot of these tips can be used. I mean, they're so basic, but once you learn them, you can use them in a lot of ways. So let's dive right in. Hopefully I get through the whole animation before the end. I'm going to show you really quickly just what it'll look like, kind of what I'm going for at the end, so you can get an idea of what we're going to try to do. So we used Ari's logo from last week, or last stream a couple weeks ago that we were working on. And I just wanted to make something that maybe you could share as an animated GIF on social or on, Instagram or Twitter, or just share around or send to somebody. And so it just repeats, and it's a repeating animation. So it starts with that cream color, and then, so that it can be on an endless loop.
It
So
looks really cool.
yeah. So this will give us an
Maybe
opportunity
I need
to
to use it.
maybe what?
Maybe I'll need to use this.
You're welcome too. That's and I don't know if you
That's
want to go
awesome.
25% off for the sale, but if you do, I could always tweak that. I know.
I'm not selling them yet, so
Okay.
maybe for next year
All
when
right.
I start selling.
We're gonna do next year then.
All right. Sanders says, joining from the Netherlands, excited to learn more about animation and After Effects.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Awesome. And Nathan said, "Oh, shh. I won't repeat that here." Um,
Nathan said something about Santa.
I don't know what you mean. Okay, so I wanted to show you from bare bones scratch what you would see in After Effects when you opened it up, and how you would get started with anything you wanted to animate. And this is what you're going to see. And it doesn't really tell you what to do next, except you can create a new composition. And that's what we're going to do, because that seems to make sense. So I'm going to click New Composition. And because I'm doing a square, I'm doing 1080 by 1080, but normally this might be 1920 by 1080, which is 16:9 for like a video frame. But 1080 works for this, and I'm just going to call this Pilo Animation and click OK. And right now you can see there's nothing in here, but this is our timeline over on this side, and this is going to be our layers. And the layers work similarly as they would in Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign, right? Whatever's on top is the most visible thing, and all that stuff, and blending modes and all those things. But everything's kind of slightly in different places because you have to deal with animation and timelines and all of these other things. So, yeah, how do we get stuff into After Effects that we want to use? This is very important. So I'm going to open up, that was not what I wanted to open up. I'm going to open up the Finder and go to my stream projects, and I've created a version of Ari's logo that's just this logo. And then I separated all of the layers out into their own layers, and this will allow me to animate individual parts of this in After Effects. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Right now, I can bring. Oh yeah, go ahead.
The one I sent you, maybe everything was on the same layer.
Yeah.
So you just dragged them out into different layers.
Exactly. In fact, I could show what that looks like too, right? This is everything on the yellow layer, everything on the red layer, and everything on the black layer, and their own, right? And then so I just created a new couple layers like this, and then went and grabbed the different parts of this and just moved them into their own layers, like so.
So if you're in the future, if I was planning to animate everything I was doing, I should always just put everything on a separate layer to prepare, just to make it easier.
Yes. So I would think if you're going to use something for an animation, like if you were making this logo, you might not anticipate, oh, I'm going to animate this at some point. But when you do, you're like, oh, I got to get started with some animation. I think what you want to think about is which parts of this am I going to want to move individually from the rest, right? So am I going to want to move this text or this stroke or the fill? Am I going to want to animate any of those parts? And if I am, then separate them onto their own layers.
Yeah, I think in this case, it doesn't make a big difference because you can easily drag out the layers. Yes. But if you had a more complicated design that had a ton of different elements, you should probably start out with separate layers for that.
And I'm going to show you something you can do in After Effects. So I'm actually just going to hide Illustrator because I don't need to see it right now. This is the one that I showed you that has all the separate layers. And when I drag this into After Effects, you will see, I'm going to just click OK. The defaults are fine for me. You'll see that it brings in all of the 4 layers on their own thing. And so we can actually animate them individually. But I'm going to show you another really cool trick. So you can see it also created a sequence. Now it has its own sequence settings here that has all of these in the timeline. It's a little 30-second animation. Now there's nothing happening, right? But you can see that these are all different layers in the time because I can make them invisible. and appear over time, right? So this is like a little
Mm.
timeline of each layer. Now, what I want to show you, and this is something important to keep in mind with After Effects. Right now, it's great that you can just drag in the Illustrator document and the layers show up, but I want to show you something. You can actually import the vector information and path information from these Illustrator layers into After Effects so you have even more fine-tuned control. And I'm going to show you how you do that. You see I've selected all 4 of these. When I right click and I go to create shapes from vector layer, this is almost like create outlines. And you'll see it creates an outlines of all 4 and hides the originals, right? And now I'm going to show you something really cool. So when I go to the icon here from the After Effects layer, you can see that I can animate all of these different properties: opacity, rotation, scale, position, anchor point. I can animate all those things in terms of the icon, which is this right here. In fact, I'll just
Oh.
show you that really quick. If I change this position, you'll see that it moves, right? And if I change
Yeah.
the opacity, it goes dark. But when I create outlines, it looks exactly the same. However, look at how much more stuff I have in here. So under contents, I now have each individual path that I can animate and select.
Wow.
Also, I can use these special animation tools. This might have been what Mike was referring to, but watch what I can do with this repeater. So, I want to add that actually to all 3 of these. So I'm going to go to contents, add repeater, and watch what it allows me to do. You can already see it created several of those, right?
Mm.
And then now I can create 4 copies of that, but I can animate the transform of every single one. So watch what happens when I change the scale. Each one changes
Oh.
over time to be animated, right? And so you can start to see that this gives, I can do rotation and you can do start opacity, so it starts, or end opacity, so they get darker as they go further. And so you see that with by changing these to outlines within After Effects, you get access to a whole lot more stuff. And all you do is add a few of these animation functions to the to whatever you want to animate, and you get all this other stuff to do. So I just wanted to mention that. And so again, how I did that, I can go back to what I had before, which is just the original 4 icons, and you just select the ones you want to do this on. You right click, go to create, and shapes from vector layer, and that's it. Now I'm going to delete these
Cool.
because I don't need them anymore.
We have a good tip from Rick. Rick says for more complicated Illustrator files, you can open an XD and then select Export to After Effects from XD. And it will separate
Cool.
all the layers and groups for you and make shapes.
That's super cool. I did
Yeah,
not know
thanks,
that.
Rick.
Thanks, Rick. That
That's
is,
a great tip. And
yes.
now we can see what the benefit is of doing that.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going,
And one quick thing,
yes.
since you created shapes, that means that the font is not in there, right? It's just the vector
For
shapes
the
of the
logo,
font.
I created the vector shapes. Yes, because I want to be able,
Okay.
I want to preserve that also. Now I'm not actually going to end up animating the text in your Pilo logo, so I could have just left that as text. But I didn't know that
Yeah.
originally, so I just made it all outlines. Um,
Okay.
okay, now I'm going to bring in a couple more assets that I know I'm going to need. I'm going to need a picture of the earrings, so I'm going to bring that in. You just drag that in, and I've got my Pilo animations, so I'm going to bring the earrings in. That's too large, so I'm going to go to the transform and scale it down. Oh, not the position, the scale. There we go. So maybe 36%. That looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to go here and open. I'm just going to copy all of these, Command C, as you would, and paste them in our. Um, oh, and something I want to show you. So you can see that this is not 1080 by 1080. This is smaller because it's the size of the After Effects thing. So what I can do is actually, I can change the sequence settings here, um, the composition settings, and I can actually change this to 1080. And then anything I animate here will be the same in the other. So I'm going to show you something really cool. So this is the entire logo. In fact, I'm going to rename this because we can just do logo all and make it a little shorter. And now watch, so you can see that's its own sequence, right? I can actually drag
Mm-hmm.
that entire sequence into here and animate that instead of all the individual elements. And now they're grouped under their own. And you can see now they're right in the center because I made it 1080. And now
Oh, okay.
anything I animate here in this uh, sequence and composition will show up in this composition almost as its own grouped animation. And I'll show you a little bit more about how we do that as needed in the future. But it's kind of cool. Like if I go here and let's say I remove this from the very beginning, if I go back, you'll see it's gone because now these are in sync. Okay,
Got it.
another thing I'm going to do is make this animation. Oh, it's hidden behind there. About 5 seconds. And I'm going to do the same with my other sequence so that they're in sync. So we'll use this composition, same thing. Oh, hidden. There we go. So now they're both 5 seconds, so they're the same length. So anything I do in one time-wise will be reflected in the other. Now, you can see in that original animation, I had that cream-colored, opening and closing. So I know I'm going to have to create like a background, like a fully, basically a fill. How do I do that? Well, in After Effects, you go to New, I right-click, go to New, and just go to Solid. And it will fill the entire screen with whatever you need. And I'm going to do background 1, just because that's easy for me to remember. And it's already set to that color I chose, but of course I could choose a different color if I wanted to. And I think I got this color by clicking, one of these, one of the earrings. And so it's kind of related to the image that's going to be there. And click OK. And now that's covering the whole thing. That's fine. And then we can just move that to the bottom for now if we want to. And then what else do I need in here? Oh, I know I'm going to need some text. So how do you create text in After Effects? Well, I'm actually going to move this above the earrings so we can see this a little better. You go to the text tool. Isn't that wacky?
Oh.
Who'd have thought? Text tool. But it is nice that when you click, it will create an empty layer for you for text. And I can type holiday sale. And you can see that I'm already using Minofa condensed light because that's what was used in the logo. And now I can...
So did you activate that on the website?
Yes. Actually, I opened your Illustrator document and that automatically activated it for me. So
Okay, and then it was available in all your apps,
exactly,
including After Effects.
So I didn't have Minofa activated, but as soon as I opened your original logo document, I had it. And so I didn't even notice it wasn't there. It just was working in the logo Illustrator document. So that's nice. Okay, I'm going to just center align that with the Align tool. We like that. And I know I'm actually going to need something exactly right here as well. That's going to say 25% off. So I'm just going to duplicate this with Command D. And I'm going to edit this so that it's 25% off, exclamation point. Looks a little wonky because it's, they're both the same text in the same place. But I can offset them here. And at least when I go to the beginning, they won't be there. So I know I'm going to move these later in the animation. So I'm just going to scoot these back, and that way they won't be visible while we're doing the earlier parts of our animation. Right? And so you'll see they both come in. And we have those. So that's how you create some text layers to work with. We're going to hide them for now. And I didn't actually hide them. You could hide them here, but I just moved them later in the timeline so we don't have to see them while we're doing the other things that we're doing. Okay. So we're going to use a mask to animate the cream background and reveal the logo in the center. And animating masks is one of the main cool things that you can do in After Effects. Basically, what it allows you to do is reveal hidden things under layers, just like you would mask in Photoshop. You can then create. So I could mask out, when you see green screen, that's what masking is. You're masking out the green screen so that you can have a different background. And the tools in After Effects allow you to do this meticulously, where you can create layered images that look real, but 3 of the things were from different images or different video clips or different things. So this is not that complicated what I'm doing, but it's the same basic concept. Okay, so how do you create a mask in After Effects? Well, it's actually really simple.
Sean asked if we can move our heads
Oh, yes,
to the top left.
of course. Does that help?
Yeah,
Oh, I
oh, I
can't
don't
move to the
know.
top left. Actually, I could, yeah, I can't move to the top left. I don't have that set up, but I can move to the bottom right for now. I'll get us out of the way. There we go. And then I'll move back when I'm talking about the timeline again. If that helps.
Okay.
I hope that works.
Yeah, sorry, Sean. There's not many places we can go.
Yes, we have these two options, but I'll try to keep an eye on that so that I can move us as needed. Um, okay, just really quick, in case you missed the stuff that was over here, we just have the character palette, obviously, from the fonts, and then we also have this down here, which is the Align panel. Okay, good. No, I don't want to create more text. Please stop that. Thank you. Okay, good. So I'm going to create a mask. Now, how do you create a mask in... You just select the thing you want to mask. Now I'm going to put this at the top so that it's covering everything. And you actually just draw a shape. Once you select this layer and you draw a shape, whatever you draw is now going to mask. And you can see that that is revealing that top layer under this mask. That is being revealed. But I actually want it to do the opposite, right? I want it to hide everything. And then, well, I'll show you I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to get rid of that and do it again, right from the center. And if you hold Command Shift when you do this, you can create a perfect circle right from the center. Now I know I'm going to want it, I want it to end right here. This is where I want the mask to end. So I'm going to let go, and now I have a mask. And you can see I created that mask here, right? And then now I can animate it, but I'm going to move it ever so slightly so that it's right in the center. And now how would you move the mask? Like, how would I transform it and change it over time? Well, that's where keyframes come in. And After Effects basically allows you to set a property at one time in the timeline and then set another property later in that timeline. And it's the same property but a different value. And then as the timeline plays, it goes from one to the other. Really simple. I can actually just show you what that looks like super simply here. If I grab the text here and I go to transform, let's just do the scale really quickly. I'm going to click this stopwatch, which is going to create a thing. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click this to create another keyframe. And now I'm going to change the scale. And then you'll see when I scrub back and forth, that's what it does. Super simple. And I want to show you another really key thing in animation, which is something called easing. So when I play this, watch what happens. You'll see that it starts and stops suddenly. Do you see that it's kind of abrupt?
Yeah.
So After Effects allows us to basically create a slow start and a slow end so that it's more natural and evolves more slowly. And all I have to do to create that is easy ease, which is going to create an ease in and an out. The name's perfect.
Not to be confused with Easy E.
Exactly. This isn't rap music. This is After Effects. But
it's cooler than rap music.
It's cooler. But you could also listen to Easy E and Easy Ease at the same time. The universe might collapse. I don't know. That's kind of crossing the streams. Your mileage may vary. So when I click this, I'm going to play you that same animation again, and you'll see that it kind of starts slow and kind of ends slow. Did you see that?
Let me see again.
Now I'm going to get rid of that and play it again. And hopefully you'll see that it's more jarring. Do you see that? It's a little more abrupt. Might be subtle.
Very subtle.
Okay.
But
trust me, it's useful.
I trust you.
And I'm going to get rid of all those keyframes right now because that's going to mess me up later. But that idea of easing of the animations basically makes the animation look smoother. It looks more natural. Like if you had a bouncy ball, right? It would slow down at the peak of the bouncy ball and then bounce fast and then slow down. But if you just used keyframes, it would go with no fluidity, So think of the layers as dancers, and you are making them more fluid, if that helps. Okay. So I am going to start the animate. I'm going to click this mask, and I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to make it larger then this entire thing, just right to the edge there, so that it's covering everything right there. Good. And now I'm going to set a keyframe at the beginning of this animation. And you do that again with that stopwatch. So I'm going to go to mask path, which is the shape of the mask, and I'm going to create a stop keyframe there. And then I'm going to go to about, let's say, maybe 1 second, for lack of a better amount. And I'm just going to double click the mask again. And I'm going to shrink it down to the size we wanted it later in the timeline to reveal the logo. And it looks like that's right about there. I think that's good. And now you'll see we start here and we end here. Pretty easy. And all I'm doing is masking that cream color over time. And the mask is shrinking. And then I'm just going to get rid of the mask altogether and we won't see that at all. So I'm going to do that as well. But, okay, so now we have this. Doesn't look that cool. What are we going to do? Okay, first I want to show you that, right? Now I want to smooth that out. So again, I'm going to select both of these keyframes and I'm going to use the Easy Ease, which will smooth that animation. And you'll see it kind of slows down as it approaches the end to a little more of a shoo.
Yeah, I saw it this time.
Awesome. And now I'm going to hide the mask altogether. I'm actually going to hide this entire layer, the background layer. And I'm going to do that with the transform property and just use opacity. So right when it's at the end of this animation, right there, I want to create a keyframe for opacity with the stopwatch again. And I very quickly want it to disappear. And I mean maybe 3 frames. So I moved it over 3 frames. And now I'm going to make the opacity 0. And now I'm going to make this larger. And let's rewatch that and see what happens. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now we got something. Cool.
What does everyone think?
Yeah, I know.
Let us know. Jake joined, and hi, Jake. He says Manofa is such a great font.
It really is.
Yeah, we agree.
It really is.
And if any of you are watching on YouTube, please come over to Behance and say hi. That's the chat that we're reading. And any of you that have joined in the last few minutes, we had a previous stream where I created this logo live, and you can watch that. The replays will be available forever on YouTube. So just check out part 1.
Yep.
And now Ben is taking that and animating it. And I think animated graphics and logos are just so popular these days. So I think this is a great tutorial for everybody. Let us know where you're from. And if you've joined the Adobe Fonts live stream before, this is our last one of the year. So thank you for joining us.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us all year long and for this last one, for sure.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, let us know in the chat.
Indeed. Okay, so we have that first part fixed, and I want to show you one other cool little tip that you can turn on motion blur. This little icon right here, you can turn on motion blur for every layer, and anything animated will get a little bit of a blur to it that is what cameras actually look like and our eyes actually look like. And so it could make something look smoother. Now watch what happens when I turn on motion blur. You'll see that the edges kind of get feathered. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And so now when we watch this playback, it has a little bit more of a natural edge to it when it moves. It's not so crisp.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to keep in mind. Motion blur, huge. If you're animating something and you're like, why does this look so stilted? I would definitely try the motion blur option. Okay.
Got it.
Now what I want to do, if you remember in the original, what I ended up doing is I had the stroke and the fill of the logo expand out and then become the background. So then just the icon and the word Pilo Clay were alone, and it kind of revealed the holiday sale text. So we're going to do that next. And what's cool is I have the logo here, and I can start working on the animation here, and whatever I do here will be reflected in Pilo animation because I have that entire sequence as a layer in my other sequence. I know it's getting Inception level right now. We have sequences within sequences. We have animation within animation. Okay, bonkers. I know, but It's super cool, and you'll see what I mean. It's not too crazy. So the
Yeah.
timelines are the same length. So anything I do here will be reflected there. Now let me see where here I want that to happen. So let's say, what would you say, Ari? There, and then maybe half a second we stay on that, and then, or maybe 1 second we stay on this, so people can
Well, it
see the
looks good.
background. Okay. So what's cool is, because these have the same timeline, when I go over here, the playhead is now in the same place as it was over there. So I know when I do an animation here, it's going to be reflected there. Okay. What am I going to do? I need the stroke, which I have here, and I want to change the path of the stroke. So I'm going to go to Contents, Group 1, and go to Path. And I'm going to create a keyframe right here, because this is where I want the animation to start. And I'm actually going to do the same for the fill. Contents, Group 1, Path. Create a keyframe. And now they're in exactly the same spot. And then I'm going to move, maybe, let's do half a second, just to see how that looks. And I can always move these later. And I'm going to create a new keyframe for both paths. Okay, and then on this keyframe, I'm going to change the path. I'm going to double click and change the path until it reveals the background. So that's the stroke. Now, remember,
Yeah.
I could just scale this stroke up, but it's actually going to make the stroke thicker as this animation happens if I do that, right? And I don't really want that. I don't want the animation to get, the stroke to get thicker. I want it to just, the actual path to get larger. So that's another reason that it's awesome that we can do this. And now I'm going to go down to the path for the fill, and I'm going to do that same thing. And you'll see that now we animate both of those in sync, right? And when I go back to here, watch what happens.
Oh,
Cool.
very cool.
Now it looked like it revealed holiday sale almost, but look, it's actually overlapping there. It's not quite the effect we want, right? I'm just suddenly
Mm-hmm.
showing holiday sale. Now I could fade in holiday sale. I could try all this stuff, but since we're practicing masks, we can actually use a similar mask as this circle and reveal holiday sale in the circle as it goes out. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Um,
Very cool.
so that's what we're going to do
Just
next.
want to say hi
Yes,
to Eve from Switzerland and Freddie, who came from YouTube.
cool. Freddie, Eve, thank you for joining us. We're doing some basic animation stuff in After Effects. And let us know if you have any questions about this or anything else related to Adobe fonts, honestly. Um,
Yeah,
Mi-
pretty much
Mike
anything.
just said track mat it, and I feel like that is a secret I have not discovered yet and will look into, because I'm doing everything manually right now, and I'm probably making this harder on myself than I actually have to. But I want to show you what's really going on, so I think it's still worth going through this. Um, okay, so we want this holiday sale to be revealed by the circle. So how are we going to do that? Now, what's cool is I can actually create a mask right on top of holiday sale. Um, so all I have to do is click this layer and then click the ellipse tool. And actually you can do this, right click and say mask, new mask. This is another way to create a mask. And now we've created a mask that's exactly the size of the text. And you'll see, because when I open this up, you'll see masks. Now there's a mask. And I can actually change the shape of the mask as well, and I can reset it to an ellipse, and you'll see what happens when I do that. So,
Whoa.
yeah. So what we want is this to animate with the logo, right? And so what I'm going to do is actually delete this mask because I want to draw one on manually. And I'm going to go right to the part where the logo is full, where we want it. And then I'm going to click this and create an ellipse. I'm going to go right from the center here. And I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to get it to the right size. I'm going to move it ever so slightly. There we go. And now I'm going to create a keyframe. Now I'm going to make sure I'm right where the animation started here in my other animation so that these are in sync together. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to create a keyframe on the mask shape. And then I'm going to go to half a second, which is what we did before. And I'm going to make this grow the same way as we did. And you'll see it
Mm,
reveals that text with a circle and everything.
yeah.
So I'm going to go exactly as I did with the other layers, right to the edge. And now when I play through this, hopefully it looks in sync, or I'm going bye, bye, bye. Um, there we go. Look at that. See that?
Yeah, I see.
Cool,
Looks
huh?
great.
Sorry, this took me a while to figure out, so I'm very excited about this. Um, so what now? I want that to be a little bit smoother. Let's watch that. I want it to have that easy, easy ease thing again. So I'm actually going to do that to all of the keyframes I created. The three different little animations that I did. First here, then I'm going to go to logo all, and I'm going to select all four of these using shift. You can click all four keyframes, right click, easy ease, and now let's watch and see what we have so far. Should be kind of a smooth. Ooh, and I'm going to turn on motion blur for all of the layers. So let's turn on motion blur for the logo as well. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh yeah, cool. So I think you can notice when the circle goes out, it kind of, right? It starts a little slower
Mm-hmm.
and then comes out pretty fast.
Very
Yes,
cool.
Nathan, you can copy and paste a mask. And if you have keyframes on that mask already, those will copy over as well. So I'll show you that really quick, just for fun. If I go, oh, also, this is a super cool tip. If you highlight a layer and you type U on your keyboard, it will show you only the keyframes in your timeline that are animating. So it's a good way to clear everything out and just focus on the thing that you want to animate. So watch this. When I copy this mask, I select it, copy. If I go to 25% off and I paste, Command V, and I go down here, there's the mask and there are the keyframes. So pretty cool. I don't actually need to do that, so I'm going to get rid of that. But yes, you can copy and paste masks. How are we doing on time? We're getting pretty close here.
We have 12 minutes
Okay,
or so.
so where do I want to go next? Okay, I really just want to show you one final thing, and that's we have this holiday sale, and we want it to kind of swipe away and reveal the 25%. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to create another mask on holiday sale and another mask on 25, so that it switches to 25%, and I'll show you how that works
Mm-hmm.
right here. So we're going to have a little bit of overlap because we actually want them both on here at the same time. I'm going to create a mask, right click, new mask for holiday sale, and I'm going to make it just ever so slightly larger on the bottom so that it covers, and on the right, just make sure to cover all of the text. And then I'm going to go to 25% off, right click, new mask, and I'm going to make that a little bit larger just so we cover it all. Okay. So now I am going to move the mask away from holiday sale right here. And you should see holiday sale disappear when I move the mask. So when I click this, watch what happens. Oh no, don't want to do that. Don't do that. So grab the mask. When I'm, oh, no. There we go. Well, I can rotate it and you'll see. Oh, why is this? I have messed this up. Give me a second.
It's okay.
Holiday.
Rick says, I've been teaching myself After Effects for more than a year, and every day I'm finding new things. Don't worry, Ben. Easy is elusive.
Thank you, Rick. Much appreciated.
And Annika joined us. Hello, welcome.
So now this mask is hiding holiday sale. You see that?
Oh.
And so now I'm going to create a keyframe, I think right there. So I'm just going to create a keyframe for where the path is. And then I'm going to double click, move this, few frames, and then move it up and reveal holiday sale. Maybe right there. And then now we should see that it oh, I forgot to add keyframes. Excuse me. There's a lot going on here.
You're excused.
Thank you very much. We want
Cesar Ramos, hello. The font is called Manofa, Manofa. It's available on Adobe Fonts, and it's from the foundry, the Northern Block. And if you want to see the process for selecting this font, you can see our first portion of this live when I created this logo in Illustrator, and I looked through a lot of fonts to choose this. So you can check that on YouTube.
Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, I am forgetting something here. Bear with me. How much time do we have?
10 minutes.
Okay. So, refocus. Let's do this again. Mask. So I want this to be here. I'm going to create a keyframe. And then I'm going to move this forward and double click and move this up. Hold shift so it stays in the center and create another keyframe. And that should move, but why is that not animating? If anyone in the audience knows what I'm missing, please tell me. Because as far
you're trying to make the holiday sale.
I want it to be revealed by the mask. So here it is with this keyframe. And then I want to move into the future and then change the mask, the path location, and create another keyframe, but that is not doing anything. This is how I accomplished it before. All right.
Cesar says instead of moving it, try to scale it.
Okay, that sounds like a possibility. Let me just delete that keyframe. I'm going to start again with this mask. Okay, new mask. Yes.
It's never easy doing it live.
No, and despite all of my prep,
Rick says you're on the wrong mask, maybe.
I am?
Maybe you were selecting the wrong mask before.
Okay, let's try this again. I created a new mask, and I'm going to add a keyframe on the mask path. And then I'm going to move forward to here. And then I'm going to move the mask up. And now I think that did it. There it is. Oh, it's working.
And we had a couple people say that Annika and Mike said that you can change the mode of the mask from none to alpha.
That is true. Yes, you can change how the mask interacts with whatever's below it. And I think...
Yeah, so I think alpha shows what's below it. So that's another...
Yes, if the mask is doing the opposite of what you want, you can change that. And I believe you change that here.
I think it's where it says none.
None. Oh, right here.
Yeah. And then you do alpha.
Okay, I'm not going to mess with that now, but...
I think that's what Mike was saying, track matte.
Nice.
That makes sense now.
That makes a lot of sense.
It felt like cryptic messages, and now I get what everyone was saying.
Okay, so now when we play through this, it reveals holiday sale, and then holiday sale goes away. Oh, I was animating the wrong mask. You're right! I was animating the circle mask that I made before instead of the rectangle mask. Oh my gosh. Hopefully
It's
this
just the way it is when you're live.
it's a learning moment for all of us. No, this is really key because it's so easy to forget that you created two masks and then you click the wrong one. This is why you always name
Yeah.
your layers. Watch this. I can name this mask, I think. I can name this circle mask, even though it's a rectangle now.
Yay.
I just totally did something crazy. So here we go. Now we have both masks, and I'm going to go back to when I created the mask. Oh, thank you, undo. This is incredible. Look at how much I can undo. This is amazing. Oh my gosh. How is this even?
Rewind.
I'm rewinding. There we go. Now
Bliss says, welcome to Team Wrong Layer.
we're back. I know, right?
It's a big team.
I know. We've all been there.
We've all done it.
Hopefully we join the team less throughout our journey as we become more professional, but always important to see if you're on Team Wrong Layer. I should just have a post-it next to my screen that says, "Are you on the wrong layer?" Okay, so I don't think we're gonna get to the swiping as much as I wanted to, but hopefully you see that I can create a mask for this, and you can create a mask that hides text, and then you can reveal other text. That was what I wanted to get to show you, and then I just wanted to show you finally at the very end. What I was going to do is I'm going to duplicate this background, which is what I created at the beginning, right? And I'm simply going to I would simply change the animation instead of going down to a circle, it would go from the center and come out and cover everything and become cream again. And if we have a few minutes, I think probably I will save that for another time, because I think we're coming up pretty close to the end of the stream here.
Yeah.
If anyone has any tips, questions, thoughts at all, please let me know. This is, again, stuff I'm new to and hopefully getting better at every time we do this. But I would love to know, any tips for future streams, things I can share with other people. If you've run into similar things like this, oh gosh, we would love to hear it. So that would be great.
Yeah, and show us the finished product that you made before again.
Yes, I will.
Let's see what we're trying to achieve.
So this is what it looks like at the end. And I'm going to set it to loop and shrink it down a little bit. So this is what it would look like when we posted it somewhere. And you can see that swiping effect on the text there. And then you can see that the circle reveals holiday sale.
It looks like your mask is revealing like part of the E.
Is
that what happened?
It is. I was hoping you would.
Now I understand how it works.
Yes.
So I can see that it was the mask that needs to be extended a little bit.
Yep.
But I had no idea how any of this worked when I first saw this.
Yeah, it's done with
really cool.
with masks. And that's, I think, something I didn't realize until I started to do this. If you ever see an animation opens from the middle and reveals something below, that's just two masks revealing what's underneath, right? And so it can get a little overwhelming, but I think it's a great skill to have and something worth looking into. Hopefully some of you feel like you can dive into After Effects at least with a little bit more tools in your tool belt. And thanks for all watching this stream. I wanted to, before we go, check out our Twitter and check out our Behance. If you liked this stream, if you want to join us again in the future, please follow us on Behance. We announce every stream before it happens there. And then, of course, on Twitter as well. And you can reach out to us in both places. DM us if you have questions, or reach out on Twitter if you have questions or ideas for future streams, things you would like to see from us. It would be fantastic. And then finally, I just wanted to say happy holidays to everybody. We wanted to say happy holidays to everyone.
Yes.
And we're going to have a brief hiatus. This is our last show of the year, and we'll be back February 9th. So mark your calendars. We're going to spend the first couple weeks of the year coming up with some even better ideas for what we can do. So again, share with us whatever you'd like to see in the future. And we appreciate you all being here. It's been a really fantastic year. And Ari, thank you for being my partner in crime this last year. It's been fantastic. Thank
you for organizing everything, and we've both learned a lot this year.
We really have.
Next year will be better than ever. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah.
Gareth, Tui, Eve, Christelle, Mike, Rick, Andreas, Nathan, all of you.
Yeah.
Great to see you in the stream, and thanks for giving us tips and questions.
It's been a great year. We really appreciate it. Have a great holiday season and a good new year. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.